That's in the dictionary. Just put up there. Oh, there it is.
Alan, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes.
All right, we ready to get going?
Yeah, we're ready when you are.
Great. Good morning. The time is 9 a.m. I call to order the February 15th, 2024 meeting of the Licensing Committee of the Contractors State License Board. I am Alan Guy, Licensing Committee Chair. Board members Miguel Galarza and Mary Teichert have approved absences today. Please note that only board members who are members of the Licensing Committee may participate in this committee meeting. Other board members who are in attendance may observe but cannot ask questions or participate in the discussion. I will now request that Board Counsel John Kinn explain the requirements for this type of meeting we are having today.
Thank you, Chair Guy, and good morning. Because most committee members today are participating remotely, I wanted to remind you all of two statutory requirements, one of which is new in 2024 under the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act. First, each member must visibly appear on camera throughout today's meeting. Susan Granzella is here with us today, and the other three committee members must remain on screen. So please keep your cameras on during the entire meeting. And second, all members participating remotely now must disclose whether any other adults are in the room with them. So when Robin Williams takes roll, if you're with someone in the room, please identify them and generally describe your relationship to them. Thank you. Fire away. Back down. Back down.
Yeah, I think Robin, go ahead and please call roll and confirm we have a quorum.
Alan Guy,
Present.
David Torre,
Here.
Miguel Galarza, approved absence. Susan Granzella,
Here.
Steve Panelli,
Here.
and Mary Teichert has an approved absence. We have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I ask that you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and justice for all. CSLB staff participating in today's meeting include Registrar David Fote, Chief Deputy Registrar Michael Janetsky, Licensing Chief Carol Gagnon, Enforcement Chief Steve Grove, Public Affairs Chief Catherine White, Licensing Manager Gloria Segario, Classification Deputy Hal Clay, and Executive Office Staff Robin Williams, who will be taking roll. In addition, we are fortunate to have with us Yvonne Dorantes, DCA Board and Bureau Relations, and DCA Board Counsel John Kinn. John Kinn is available to answer any legal questions that may arise. Next is Agenda Item B, our public comment section. This item is provided for public comment pertaining to items not on the agenda. To allow this committee enough time to conduct its full schedule of business, I will be limiting public comments to 3 minutes apiece. Please note that state law prohibits committee members from discussing any matter brought up during public comment. We are also not allowed to act on any item not on the agenda. If you want the committee to discuss a topic not on the agenda, you can ask us to consider placing that issue on the agenda of a future meeting. If you have an application, complaint, or disciplinary charges pending before the board, we ask that you not discuss the details of your case or pending complaint. Committee members are not permitted to receive evidence or information that is not part of the administrative record in the case. If your comments are related to a specific agenda item, you can make your comments now, but you may want to wait until that item comes up for discussion. We will ask for public comment before acting on any item. Public Affairs Chief Catherine White is our host and moderator today. She will be assisting us by monitoring public comment. Members of the public, when you'd like to comment at any time during the meeting, please select the raise your hand icon in the WebEx application or leave a message with the chat feature. Do any committee members have an item they would like to place on a future meeting agenda? Hearing none. Catherine, are there any members of the public here in the room who wish to address the committee or to offer an agenda item for a future meeting?
No.
Catherine, are there any members of the public on WebEx who wish to address the committee or to offer an agenda item for a future meeting?
Seeing none at this time.
Thank you. We are now moving on to agenda item C. This agenda item is to update the committee on staff field investigations of 3% of original exam applications. The purpose of experience verification is to ensure public protection by verifying applicant experience and to comply with California Code of Regulations 824 that was enacted by the board in 1980. Yes, more than 43 years ago. This morning, we will review the application field investigation requirement, the evolution of the process since it first began in 1980, how our current process addresses consumer protection concerns, and staff recommendations. Licensing Chief Carol Gagnon will explain the background in more detail.
Thank you, Alan. This is section 824, which was added to the California Code of Regulations in 1980 to provide for enforcement staff to perform a comprehensive review of more than 3% of licensing applications. It states, in addition to a review and verification of all applications for licensure, the registrar shall conduct a comprehensive field investigation. Now, for background, at CSLB, we have headquarters staff and field staff. All CSLB field staff are in the enforcement division. We have 8 enforcement field offices throughout the state. Therefore, by using the words field staff, the regulation states that enforcement staff should be doing the CCNR 824 3% application experience verifications. Now, continuing with the regulations. So, comprehensive field investigation of a minimum of 3% of all such applications. Such investigation shall include those areas of experience claimed and such other areas as the registrar deems appropriate for the protection of the public. Again, this regulation states that 3% of applications will be subject to a comprehensive field investigation. In a few minutes, we'll discuss how CCNR 824 application verification has moved from enforcement to licensing and back to enforcement. Although not required by any statute or regulation, the licensing division established a 3% random pull process for CCNR 824 application verification. Again, it doesn't say in the regulation that the 3% must be completely random. Next slide, please. The rest of the regulation states that all claimed experience shall be supportable by documentation satisfactory to the board. The registrar shall provide to the board for its approval acceptable forms of such documentation and shall inform the applicant in the application form that such documentation may be requested by the board. CCNR 824 focuses on the areas of experience that applicants claim and such other areas as the registrar deems appropriate for the protection of the public. In addition, the regulation mentions that the registrar shall provide a list of acceptable documentation that applicants can provide to support their work experience. This list has been created under a prior registrar and it was approved by the board in 2014. Again, our goal is to be in compliance with this regulation and staff will not be proposing any changes. Next slide, please. At the request of the current registrar, David Foe, a summary of acceptable documentation to verify work experience was created. Every application review technician is trained in the documents on this list and what to look for to verify their accuracy. Since 2017, the list has also been available on CSLB's website so that applicants can determine if they meet the minimum experience requirements. Next slide, please. So this is the list that's provided on our website and for licensing staff. Next slide. This shows the rest of the list. It's pretty comprehensive. Next slide, please.
Carol, maybe you want to leave it there just for a minute.
Oh. Can we go back, Natalie? I didn't let people have time to read it, sorry.
And all of this is available on the website.
Yes, this is actually a screenshot directly from our website. So candidates can see it, applicants can see it. Licensing staff have physical copies. All right, I think we're ready to keep going. As I say, these are on our website, so if you wanted to see them more closely, you can always go to CSLB's website and take a look. In 2021, staff and management held meetings to discuss how to improve the posting rate. Once an application has been reviewed and determined complete, for example, it is signed, has their birth date, has their social security and tax identification number, has all the required work experience, etc., then it is considered posted, and the applicant can move forward for the additional requirements for licensure. If applicants do not complete their application by providing enough experience, verification, or other issues, it will not be posted, and the applicant will not be scheduled for their law and business or their trade exam. In the past, when staff received applications, we would send a form letter to the candidate with boxes checked, telling them what errors needed to be corrected before their application could move forward. In February 2021, licensing changed their procedures to become more proactive, and we began emailing or calling applicants to let them know when more information was needed and what. Certain data could be accepted over the phone, like a birth date or a middle name. Other data still needs to be sent to us by mail because it requires signatures, and this includes the work or experience certifications. Next slide, please. In addition, we have on our webpage a website for applicants to find out more about applying, including the trade classifications they can apply for, fingerprinting requirements, fee requirements, a link to all of the exam study guides, and other information to help them with the exam application process. Next slide, please. Currently, each application is reviewed closely by staff before it is posted and moves forward with the licensing process. Although the number of applications not posted has dropped with the more proactive approach, some applicants fail to substantiate their work experience, and others will withdraw at this stage of the process. This could be because they don't have enough experience, or they don't want to continue with licensure, or for other reasons. Although the number of applications posted has increased, the number of voided applications has remained about the same from 2008 through 2023. And I do want to emphasize that licensing staff are committed to ensuring applicants meet experience and other requirements. However, management will continue to explore opportunities to reduce the number of applicants that are not able to provide documentation to support minimum experience requirements. Ideally, applicants would not apply if they can't support the minimum experience requirements. Next slide, please. As you will see on this slide, in 2023, 5,734 exam applications were not able to achieve licensure. Now, if you include waiver applications where an exam is not required, the total number of applicants not successful in achieving licensure is 7,182. To confirm, voided applications on this chart are those applicants who do not meet the 4 years experience or other requirements. That also may include failing their exams, not providing their fingerprints, not obtaining a bond, not confirming workers' compensation insurance, or not meeting other requirements. There are a number of reasons why their application could go void. The reason this is important is that even though more applications are getting posted, candidates are still not passing or failing their exams at a different rate. So this indicates that the knowledge and experience level of those being posted is the same, even if the number posted is increasing. Next slide, please. Before 1980, there was minimal experience review and no investigation requirement for applications. AB 1363 in 1979 added to law that statements made by applicants needed to be verified by a qualified and responsible person, and a CSLB work certification form began to be used as part of the application process. In 1980, when the 3% experience verification rule was added to CCNR 824. CSLB was not doing the strict application review that we do now. In fact, our spring 1980 newsletter even mentions that they were not really looking closely at applicants' experience at all. When the 3% experience verification law went into effect, enforcement staff handled all of the applications pulled for verification. Our staffing levels have increased during the last 40 years, such that we now have over 30 trained licensing staff reviewing applications for licensure. Now, every single application is reviewed closely to ensure that they meet the minimum qualifications. And our goal, as always, is to protect the public by ensuring that we do not license unqualified people. Next slide, please. The experience verification process has moved back and forth between enforcement and licensing in the 40+ years since CCNR 824 became law. It's currently under enforcement as of 2020, and it was moved there at the direction of Registrar Code to comply with this regulation. Next slide, please. Enforcement staff are now sent a random 3% pool of applications each month. In addition, licensing staff identify for closer review any application from someone who has been denied or withdrew their application in the past, anyone who has a previous enforcement action under another license, those who have prior unlicensed activity, and any others that are identified as needing a closer review. The majority of enforcement application reviews now focus on suspect application. Random pool applications continue to be investigated. However, they do not total 3% of exam applications received monthly. Next slide, please. As you can see, the number of applications reviewed by enforcement has increased over the years. The low numbers in 2020 to 2022 are largely because of COVID-related prioritization of other investigations. But this year, the 624 CCNR 824 applications verified by enforcement is impressive and exceeds 3% of all exam applications that we received this year. Next slide, please. We also did a study to determine if there's any difference in the number of complaints received about new licensees when the 3% application experience verification was done by licensing staff or enforcement staff. Next slide, please. As you can see, the number of complaints against new licensees is about the same, regardless of whether licensing or enforcement staff are conducting the application experience verification.
Here, hold that slide just a sec.
Yes, no problem. Good. All right, next slide, please. All right. So in summary, CCNR 824 states that in addition to a review and verification of all applications for licensure, the registrar shall conduct a comprehensive field investigation of a minimum of 3% of all such applications. This regulation is just stating that 3% of applications should receive a closer review by enforcement staff. Next slide, please. Currently, enforcement staff continue to investigate some random poll applications each month. However, their priority is investigating those applicants who were previously denied, who have a previous enforcement action, have prior unlicensed activity, may have falsified experience claim, or identified as meeting one of the other criteria on this list. Right now, I'm going to have Steve Grove of enforcement speak for a little bit about enforcement side.
Thank you, Carol. Good morning, board members. One of the recent improvements to the enforcement division has been the creation of our quality assurance unit. And I'm very happy to report that it's finally fully staffed. We have a supervisor, we've got 5 special investigators, 2 associate government program analysts, and an office technician in that unit. And since July of 2022, we have devoted one of those special investigators to only investigating investigations that come from the licensing division, like Carol was just mentioning. And this individual is doing extremely well, and her supervisor can barely keep up with all the work that she's given. So this is working out really well, and enforcement is happy to continue with this.
I will now turn it over to Alan Guy for our proposed action.
Thank you, Steve and Carol. Based on this history, What we propose to the committee is to focus experience verification staff efforts to reflect the applications that the registrar has determined need special review. Regular applications are already thoroughly reviewed by licensing staff. Enforcement should concentrate on those that are of most concern. Applicants who were previously denied, withdrew their earlier application, had an enforcement action on an earlier license, or are identified for another reason. We also propose to move the EVU statistics reporting from the licensing section to the enforcement section of future board packets. Because this meeting is being conducted in advisory capacity only today, this is presented for discussion only and is not a voting item. This matter may be an agenda item at the April 18th quarterly board meeting at Board Chair Diana Love's discretion. Do board members have any comments? Not hearing any.
Actually, I do. I wanted to comment on how informative this was. I've been on the board quite a while, but to see our tracking to the new laws and regulations is wonderful. So great job in reporting that, and I look forward to discussing this further. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the public in the room, Catherine?
No.
Okay. Catherine, can you please check to see if there are any comments online?
Not seeing any at this time.
Great, thank you. That concludes that item. Now on to agenda item D, which is the review, discussion, and update of the translation of 10 of CSLB's written licensing examinations into Spanish. I will turn it back over to Carol to provide this update.
Thank you, Alan. All right, next slide, please. I'll give you a brief overview of the exam development unit, what exams were released last year, the exams we expect to release this year, what exams are currently being administered in both Spanish and English, and our plans moving forward with Spanish exams. Next slide, please. All right. CSLB's law and business exam and trade examinations are very rigorous and cover the full breadth of the trade as it is practiced in California. We update every examination every 5 years on average and have strong item banks of 500 to 1,000 items for each exam. We use active licensed contractors from all over California with a wide variety of trade experience to work on each exam with our exam specialist. We also update the code questions in our item banks every 3 years from the new Title 24 California building codes are released. In addition, we have provided candidates with a video of what to expect on test day on our website to help familiarize them with the computerized testing process. Next slide. The examination development unit consists of 6 exam specialists who work on the exams, 2 student engineers who revise and update the booklets of material that candidates receive when they work on their exam, an editor and other administrative staff. In addition, we have 400 to 500 subject matter experts, or SMEs, who are active licensed contractors and volunteer to help us update the examinations for their trade. They participate by doing job audit interviews, completing our occupational analysis surveys, and taking part in workshops here in headquarters. We depend on their expertise and input to make sure the exams cover the full breadth of the trade and are current. They volunteer by responding to one of our SurveyMonkey surveys or applying on CSLB's website as a subject matter expert. In addition, we have 48 examinations that we update every 5 years on average, and we offer our exams at 22 test centers run by PSI Exams, a private testing company. Next slide, please. In 2023, staff completed and released 13 new exams that are listed here. For an exam to be complete, we ensure that we've done an occupational analysis, reviewed all of the existing questions in the item bank and written new questions, set a new pass point, had at least 3 staff members, the editor and 2 exam specialists, read the entire item bank. We create new booklets and we release the new versions at PSI. Next slide, please. In 2024, we already have 9 exams that either have been released or are scheduled to be released, including a new C49 tree and pollen exam. There will be more exams released during 2024 that are not on this list but staff are still working on them, and release dates often depend on subject matter expert availability for exam development workshops. In 2023, we also had PSI translators translate 10 of our item banks into Spanish, so we can administer these exams in both Spanish and English. Staff reviewed the number of requests for a Spanish translator over the past 20 years, and we selected the 10 most often requested exams. We're pleased to report that over 2,000 candidates have already taken one or more of our Spanish exams since August 2023, when the very first Spanish law versions were released. Based on the success of these exams, Alan has recommended the following for a committee discussion. Again, this will not be a voting item, but it may be an agenda item at the April 18th board meeting. Alan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Carol. Considering the success of the Spanish translated exams, I recommend that as part of the strategic planning staff, analyze the number of people taking the other trade exams using a Spanish translator and do a cost-benefit analysis to determine if other exams should be translated in the future. All right, we'll see if there's any comments. Do board members have any comments?
I do, Steve Panelli.
Go ahead, Steve.
I think this is great. Just wanted to let everybody know that they finally translated the codes for the California Plumbing Code into Spanish as well. That was just done in this past year, and it took us a long time to get that finally done. And I think it's something that would be helpful, not just in code, but also in moving forward for the testing in Spanish. So they have something they can use as a reference and understand both sides of it. So I think this is a great move.
That's great. Thank you for that comment, Steve. Any other comments from board members? Any comments in the room?
No public commenters in the room.
Catherine, any comments online?
Seeing none at this time.
Well, I think that concludes the licensing committee meeting for today. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Practice 6 times. I practiced 6 times. And I gotta go.
What did you get?
Yeah. It's hard when you practice that many times. You just look at it.